can you not get engaged to her? As soon as I said that, Matthew frowned, as if he hadn't heard me. He looked at me coldly and said indifferently, it's just a marriage of convenience. I won't have any feelings for her. Then can you let me go? I said in a low voice, with a hint of hope. Matthew didn't answer. He just stared at me, his eyes full of complex emotions. Then a flurry of kisses rained down, starting from my neck and trailing downwards. No matter how angry and hateful I was in my heart, I gradually lost my strength after struggling in the end. I could only let him take what he wanted. When he finally seemed satisfied, I asked again, my voice hoarse, you're engaged. Can you let me go? Matthew turned his head and gave me a sideways glance. He didn't say anything, but I already understood. It's impossible. Even if he gets engaged to another woman, he still won't let me go. He'll keep me imprisoned by his side. Exhausted, I lie on the bed, squinting as I watch him walk into the bathroom. The pattering sound of water was very hypnotic. Who had been suffering from insomnia since I learned the news of his engagement, actually fell asleep miraculously. In my dream, that accident reappeared again. When I first entered college, I was really poor, so poor that I even had problems with 3 meals a day. Apart from attending classes, I almost spent all my other time trying to find ways to make money. One evening, after finishing work, I accidentally hit someone on my way back to school by bike. It was entirely my fault, and the other party demanded compensation of 300,000 yuan. But I didn't have the money. The man spoke very aggressively, looking like he was going to punch someone at any moment. If you don't have the money, ask your parents for it. If you can't get it, go borrow it. You broke my buddy's leg. 300,000 yuan is already a bargain for you. But I had no parents. The tuition fees before I went to college were all sponsored by kind-hearted people. There was no way anyone around me would be willing to lend me 300,000 yuan. Just when I was at a loss, Matthew suddenly showed up. He caught the man's fist that was about to swing at me and protected me behind him. Isn't it just 300,000 yuan? Is it necessary to resort to violence? That was the second time I saw him. Matthew transferred 300,000 yuan to me without hesitation. After the man took the money and left happily, I still seemed to be in a daze. It took me a while to come to my senses, and then I remembered to apologize to him. Matthew waved his hand indifferently. No need to thank me. 300,000 yuan means nothing to me. Indeed, 300,000 yuan was really nothing to a rich second generation like Matthew. The first time I saw him, people around me told me that Matthew was very rich, and not just rich in the ordinary sense. It was just the beginning of the semester, and I was representing the freshmen to give an entrance speech. Matthew was sitting in the first row of the audience. His sharp eyes when looking at people were hard to ignore. Our eyes met. I paused on his almost perfect face for 2 seconds and then quickly shifted my gaze. When I walked past him after the speech, someone next to him looked at me and said inexplicably, "This year's freshmen are quite interesting." I noticed that Matthew also glanced at me. He curled his lips and nodded slightly, saying, "Indeed." Matthew looked at the wrist I was holding with a bit of confusion and asked, "Is there something wrong?" "Yes." I took out paper and a pen from my school bag, wrote an IOU for him and said, "I'll pay you back the money later." Matthew raised an eyebrow looking at the IOU in his hand. "Then when do you plan to pay it back?" Clutching my school bag, I felt inexplicably nervous and said, "I'll pay you back when I graduate and earn money." "You're a freshman now? That means I have to wait for 4 years. Tilting his head, he said meaningfully, "If I have to wait that long, I might charge interest." I nodded without hesitation and said, "No problem. I'll give you the interest according to the bank's rate." But Matthew said, "I'm not short of money." Seeing me stunned, he curved his lips and asked, "Can you cook?" "Yes." "Then cook for me. Consider it as paying the interest." Hearing this, I hesitated a bit and asked, "Just cooking? If you're willing, you can also help me tidy up the house." So he was asking me to be his nanny, but I still guarded against him. It wasn't until Matthew said, "My parents like to pry into my private life. You must promise not to be bribed by them." Only then did I nod firmly and say, "I won't." After that, after my classes, I would go to Matthew's off-campus apartment to cook for him and tidy up the house. After taking good care of him, I would rush off to work to earn my living expenses. This kind of life only lasted for 3 months. Matthew also invited me on his birthday. A group of people surrounded him and forced him to drink. I was also forced to drink quite a bit. In the end, everyone passed out. Who was also not very sober, had to send Matthew back to his apartment. When I was leaving, Matthew suddenly grabbed my wrist. He pinned me down on the sofa. Squinting his eyes slightly, he brought his lips close to my ear and said, "Lucas, actually you don't have to live such a hard life." The warm breath tickled my ear. I shrank my neck. Matthew was probably really drunk. His voice was deep and hoarse, with a hint of temptation. "I feel so sorry for you like this." Suddenly, my heart started pounding. After a few years, I've forgotten how we kissed and ended up in bed that day. But from that day on, my relationship with Matthew changed. He wouldn't let me go out to work for living expenses anymore. He always clung to me and was so affectionate. He could kiss me for an entire afternoon. After we confirmed our relationship, Matthew gave me a card, but I've never used it. I still secretly worked part-time outside behind his back. Falling in love with Matthew made me busier than before. In order to pay him back the 300,000 yuan, after graduation, I gave up the school's postgraduate recommendation qualification and started looking for a job everywhere. Among the 6 people in the dormitory, except for the 2 who took the postgraduate entrance examination, the other roommates successively got offers. Only I kept hitting a wall. Seeing me anxious, my roommate comforted me. "Our college is at the top of the industry, and you're the first in our major. It's really strange that those companies would reject you. Why don't you ask Matthew?" At that time, I didn't catch the hidden meaning in my roommate's words. It wasn't until by chance that I accidentally heard Matthew's buddy say, "Matthew spent 300,000 yuan to make the department's top student hunk in our major be his nanny for 4 years. Not only did he have to be a nanny, but he also had to sleep with him. Who can be as awesome as our Matthew?" There was a chorus of sneers and ridicules around. "Brother Matthew, last time you said no company should pass his interview. Is it your little nanny?" The private room was filled with noise. I heard Matthew's usual lazy voice. "Yes, it's him. Back then, you deliberately set a trap for Lucas when he had a car accident and broke someone's leg. Now you still won't let him find a job. Are you planning to keep him as a canary by your side for a lifetime?" Matthew played with his wine glass, seemingly in thought. "Not necessarily for a lifetime. I just find him interesting for now." The word interesting made me feel as if I'd fallen into an ice cave. Lucas. When Matthew woke me up, I was still a bit dazed and couldn't tell dreams from reality. In the dream, I was so angry that I gritted my teeth. When I woke up and saw his magnified face in front of me, I didn't hesitate to punch him in the face. Matthew didn't have time to react. He gasped and got up to stay away from me. He rubbed his left cheek and frowned at me. "What on earth are you doing?" He had just come out of the bathroom, with only a towel barely hanging around his waist. Due to the sudden and large movement just now, the towel was on the verge of falling off. I watched as Matthew simply tore off the towel and threw it aside, then came towards me. I had used all my strength in that punch just now. Afraid that he would come after me, I coldly explained, "I had a nightmare and didn't recognize it was you. If Matthew really just punched me back in retaliation, I wouldn't be afraid. During these years of being locked up in the villa by him, I had attacked him more than once. Matthew wouldn't fight back. He would only retaliate against me with his even dirtier and more despicable means. The previous intimate encounter had already exhausted me. I was really afraid that he would do it again." Hearing this, the hostility on Matthew's face quickly faded away. A smile reappeared on his face. He jumped onto the bed, hugged me, and kissed me on the face, asking, "What did you dream about?" As he kissed me, his hands started to get restless again. I didn't say anything more. I just impatiently pushed him away and turned my head to the side. Matthew seemed to be in a good mood tonight. He didn't mind me giving him a cold shoulder and didn't push it any further. He straightened up and stood in front of me boldly, saying, "I have a social engagement later. You stay at home obediently and wait for me to come back." Seeing me turn away my gaze with red ears, Matthew smiled somewhat proudly. "It's been 7 or 8 years. You've seen, touched, and had me. Why are you still blushing?" I closed my eyes and buried myself in the quilt, keeping silent. It was not until there was a rustling sound of changing clothes that Matthew walked to the bedside again. Lucas, don't think too much. It's just a marriage of convenience between me and her. There won't be anything between us. After a while, the sound of footsteps faded away. Hearing the car horn downstairs, I lifted the quilt and took a deep breath. I don't have a phone. Matthew doesn't allow me to have any communication devices. So at this moment, I can only lie in bed and watch the hands of the wall clock go round and round. It's 8 o'clock. Matthew's engagement banquet starts at 8. There has been a meowing sound at the door. I endured the pain in my leg and walked out of the room barefoot. As soon as it saw me, the kitten immediately pounced on me and hugged my leg, meowing non-stop. The butler downstairs heard the noise and also looked at me. Are you hungry? The young master asked us to prepare dinner for you before he left. After saying that, the butler glanced at my leg again. It's going to rain soon. If your leg hurts, I'll have someone come and massage it for you. I shook my head, handed the kitten to the butler, and retreated back into the room. The evening wind is howling outside the window, and the air is filled with the damp moisture before the storm. I lowered my eyes and looked downstairs. It's a bit high. Maybe I'll really die if I jump down. Being imprisoned here by Matthew for 3 years, I've tried all kinds of ways to escape, but I've never tried jumping from here. I always used to think that nothing in the world was greater than life and death. But now I suddenly don't think so anymore. Matthew is getting engaged. I really don't know why he still keeps me imprisoned here. And who am I then? Before, he said he'd let me go when he got bored with me. I don't know when he'll get tired of me. This kind of endless days is the most despairing. Lightning flashed across the sky, and I had already sat on the windowsill. When the deafening thunder reached my ears, I just landed. No one noticed that I jumped down, swallowing back the cry of pain on my lips. Without having time to care about the sharp pain in my left leg, I quickly stepped on the flower bed and climbed onto the wall. Now, whether it hurts or not doesn't matter to me. As long as I'm not dead, it's okay. I thought the heavy rain tonight could buy me more time to escape. But the butler and the villa's security guards quickly found out that I had run away. They quickly chased after me, dragging my injured leg. I struggled to run forward. Seeing the car lights suddenly appear in front of me, I rushed over without hesitation. I originally intended to ask him for help, but unexpectedly, the car actually rammed directly into me. Before I fainted, I forced a bitter smile on my lips. I really have the worst luck. When I woke up again, I was lying on the hospital bed. The doctor was talking to a young man with his back to me. The person is fine, but hit their head. They may lose their memory. The first person to notice me opening my eyes was the villa's butler. You're finally awake. I've already called the young master. He told us to take you home first. I stared at him and pondered for a moment, then asked in confusion, who are you? The young man also turned to look at me at this moment. Hearing that I didn't recognize the butler, the man lifted his lips into a smile. When speaking to the butler, his tone was full of provocation. He doesn't recognize you. If you take him away now, I'll call the police. Then, on the pretext that I needed rest, he drove everyone out. The ward instantly fell silent. The young man stood at the foot of the bed, looking at me with a smile and said, "Don't you want to ask who I am?" I hesitated for a moment before asking him, "Who are you?" The man raised his eyebrows, and there was a mischievous look in his eyes as he looked at me. "My name is William, and I'm your husband." Outside the window, the heavy rain was like a waterfall and showed no sign of stopping. I was the only one left in the ward. It was very quiet, and it was also a good time to escape. Unfortunately, my left leg was injured and in a cast. My once broken right leg ached horribly on rainy days as if being gnawed by insects. I could hardly even stand now, let alone escape. I closed my eyes listlessly. I kept thinking about the name William in my mind. It was very familiar. I must have heard it somewhere before, but I just couldn't remember it at the moment. Moreover, the butler seemed to know him. William. As I was thinking, my train of thought began to slow down and gradually come to a halt. I don't know if it's because I hit my head in the car accident or because I just took the medicine. Suddenly, I'm extremely sleepy. Just after I fell asleep for a short while, the door of the ward was suddenly kicked open from the outside. The loud noise instantly woke me up. Before I could come to my senses, a force pulled me up from the bed. "Lucas, do you have to force me to break your legs?" so that you can't run away anymore and learn to be obedient. The sudden movement tugged at the wound on my leg, and the pain made me break out in a cold sweat instantly. Before I could see what the person in front of me looked like, I was thrown back onto the bed like a piece of trash. "What on earth are you doing? Acting up?" I looked at him in confusion. It wasn't until the rickety door was pushed open again that I loosened the fist I had been clenching under the quilt. It was William who had come back. He was holding a bunch of sunflowers with water droplets on them and walked straight towards me without looking sideways. Even though there were suddenly many people in the ward, he wasn't surprised at all. Instead, he looked unusually calm. William held the sunflowers in front of me and said, "I saw someone selling them at the hospital gate just now, so I bought 2 for you. Do you like them?" I looked at the flowers in front of me and nodded blankly after a moment of hesitation. As soon as the words, "I like them," left my mouth, a hand suddenly reached out, snatched the flowers, and threw them on the ground. "William, do you think I'm dead?" The cold voice made me involuntarily envision many unpleasant scenes in my mind. I couldn't help but shrink back and tense my back. "Oh, Mr. Matthew is here too." Compared to my nervousness, William was incredibly relaxed. He acted as if he had just noticed Matthew, raising his eyebrows and smiling. His gaze slowly moved down from Matthew's face to his feet. The once bright and vivid sunflowers now had scattered petals and were lying on the ground. "These 2 flowers are quite expensive, 180 yuan each. Does Mr. Matthew plan to compensate in cash or by transfer?" William's tone was light, but the look in his eyes when he regarded Matthew was full of barbs. "I'm taking him away." Matthew's sudden words made me even more nervous. "Oh." William still had an indifferent tone. "No, you can't." He looked at Matthew and said, "Because he is my boyfriend." "Your boyfriend?" Matthew's tone was full of disbelief. He turned to stare at me, his eyes cold and fierce. "When did you 2 get to know each other?" These words were not directed at William, but at me. But I was also very confused myself. "When I just woke up, William said he was my boyfriend. I thought he was just joking." "Is Mr. Matthew being too nosy?" William pulled me towards him, shielding me from Matthew's scrutinizing gaze. "Do I need to tell you when I got to know my boyfriend?" After saying that, he let out a sneer again. "Besides, Mr. Matthew knows best that I'm into men. There's no need to act so surprised. Isn't it quite normal for me to have a boyfriend now?" Matthew paused for a moment, and his look at William became even more gloomy. "It seems you still haven't forgotten the past? Then how dare you come and provoke me again now?" This sentence made William think of something, and the smile on his face gradually stiffened. The 2 stared at each other silently. There was no sign of emotion on their faces, but there was a storm brewing beneath the calm surface. The ward was silent for a long time. It was so long that my head started to throb again before I heard Matthew say, "William, this is my person." Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by William. "Your person." William repeated his words meaningfully. Then he looked back at me. "Lucas, do you know Mr. Matthew?" 2 pairs of eyes suddenly stared at me at the same time. I clenched my hand hidden in the quilt, pretended to be calm, and shook my head, saying, "I don't know him." After saying that, I hid behind William and asked, "Who is this person? Why are you speaking so aggressively?" Upon hearing this, Matthew's expression showed a bit more annoyance. He reached out to pull me, but was stopped by William, who said, "Mr. Matthew, my boyfriend said he doesn't know you." William's tone was provocative. "Please, Mr. Matthew, take your people and leave. My boyfriend needs to rest." He kept referring to me as his boyfriend. The more Matthew listened, the colder his expression became. That day, Matthew received a phone call, and then the butler whispered something in his ear. After that, he took his people and left. During these more than 10 days of recuperating in the hospital, I finally got a rare chance to catch my breath. The rain that had been falling for so long finally stopped. William pushed me downstairs in the hospital for a walk. The sky after the rain was exceptionally blue, and the leaves were green. Not far away, a sparrow landed on the lawn. As soon as someone approached, it flapped its wings and flew away. I looked at the sparrow, with envy in my eyes. It's so good to have wings. William had just received a phone call and left temporarily. I gently moved my left leg in a cast and tried to stand up slowly while holding onto the wheelchair. When my body tilted and I almost fell, William came back in time. He caught me and prevented me from having an intimate encounter with the ground. William was holding me and suddenly frowned and asked, "You seem to be over 1.8 meters tall. Why are you so light?" After saying that, he seemed to think of something, suddenly loosened his grip a bit, and casually changed the topic. "Your leg injury isn't healed yet. Don't move around." At this moment, I was so close to him that I could smell the sage on him. Smelled really good. I used to smell the same on Matthew. Thinking of what he said to Matthew a few days ago and the subtle atmosphere between them, I lowered my eyes. I couldn't help but ask him, "William, who exactly are you?" William paused in the action of putting me back in the wheelchair. I could feel his chest vibrate slightly. He was laughing. Although he had already put me back in the wheelchair, he still maintained the posture of holding me. "You've lost your memory. Have you even forgotten me?" William's voice was very soft, and his tone was like coaxing a child. "Baby, I'm your husband, your only husband." After saying that, he even winked playfully. William and Matthew are two extremes. Matthew is moody and always has a haughty attitude, but William is gentle and polite. Occasionally, he would make a few harmless jokes. He is a well-educated and gentle gentleman. He has such a good temper, yet he actually hates Matthew and loathes him to the extreme. Sometimes I also wonder what exactly happened between them in the past. Seeing that I didn't say a word, William took a step back and jokingly asked me, "Don't you believe me?" Just as I was about to speak, suddenly a strong force pulled him away from me. William didn't notice and was thrown onto the nearby lawn by the inertial force. He and I looked up at the same time and saw Matthew, who had come over at some unknown time in front of us. "Oh!" William stood up and casually patted the grass clippings off his pants. "Mr. Matthew is here again. Mr. Matthew just got engaged. Instead of staying by his fiancée's side. What is he doing in the hospital all day long? Is it because he's about to get married, so he's coming to see a male doctor in advance?" Matthew looked cold, glanced at William, and said disdainfully, "You seem to be very concerned about my private life. Are you interested in me?" William snorted. "Mr. Matthew is still so narcissistic." Matthew raised his eyebrows. It was obvious that he came prepared. Sure enough, the next second, I heard him say, "I'm not here to argue with you today. I've brought someone for you to meet." After saying that, he waved to the outside. A simply dressed man got out of the black Maybach. That man was very fair-skinned, with delicate features. As soon as William saw him, his face changed. He turned back and gritted his teeth, questioning Matthew, "What did you bring him here for?" Matthew looked down at me and said, "You've been holding on to Lucas. It's nothing but to take revenge on me. Now I've found your old lover for you. Stay away from Lucas from now on." William was so angry that his body was trembling. He took 2 steps forward. Before he could touch Matthew, the man who had just got out of the car rushed over and grabbed him. "William!" While William was being held back by the man, Matthew had already walked behind me. He controlled the wheelchair, turned me around, and pushed me forward. I looked back at William, but Matthew held me in the wheelchair with one hand. "Don't disturb him. He's meeting his old lover now and has no time to care about you." Matthew pushed me for a long time and finally stopped in a remote and quiet place. He squatted in front of me, looking me in the eye, and said, "I heard you lost your memory and don't remember anything?" Matthew's tone was calm, and there was no sign on his face. But I knew, he was always like this. The calmer he was, the more eerie it was, just like the weather before a storm. Matthew was a madman. "Yes, I've forgotten a lot of things." He smiled faintly, and a look of sadness appeared on his handsome and fair-skinned face. "Did you even forget me?" I tried my best to restrain the impulse to run away and spoke in as steady a tone as possible, not daring to let him notice anything amiss. "I don't remember the past." William said, "Your name is Matthew." Meeting his gaze, I added and asked, "Did we know each other before?" Matthew propped his hands on both sides of my body, trapping me. He lifted his lips and smiled. "Does having slept together count as knowing each other?" I held back the sudden churning in my stomach and turned my head to avoid his scrutinizing gaze. "I don't understand what you're saying." Matthew gave a soft snort and suddenly let me go. He turned around and pointed at an abandoned building not far away. The building was 6 or 7 stories high. At the moment, there was a person standing on the top floor, holding a struggling kitten in their hand. What would happen if that kitten accidentally fell? Matthew turned his head and looked at me again. "Lucas, do you want to save her?" If you can tell me the kitten's name, I'll help you save her. I looked at Matthew in disbelief and said, "Are you crazy?" "I'm not crazy." Matthew smiled slightly. "Lucas, as long as you tell me her name, I'll help you save her." I closed my eyes, but I still couldn't suppress the anger in my heart. I slapped Matthew across the face. Instead of getting angry, he smiled even more brightly. "Haven't you been eating properly recently? Why is your strength so weak?" I slapped him again with my other hand. Matthew laughed even more happily. He looked at me and coaxed me patiently. "Lucas, do you still remember her name? You don't need to do anything. You just need to say her name to save her." I looked towards the rooftop. The kitten was struggling more and more violently. That person was just holding her with one hand, which was really heart-wrenching and terrifying. Matthew is a madman, but I'm not. Matthew treats lives like weeds, but I'm just soft-hearted. Mau mau. I gritted my teeth in hatred, but the smile on Matthew's lips deepened. He had already stood up. He held my face with one hand and played with it in an unclear way. "Liar, I knew you didn't lose your memory. The way you look at me doesn't seem like you've forgotten me at all." After saying that, he sighed again. "What a pity, Lucas." When William found us, Matthew was holding my hand and asking me if it hurt. "Your punch didn't do much to me, but it seems to have hurt your own hand. Lucas, let me apply some medicine on your hand." I pulled my hand back and punched him in the left face. This time, I didn't miss. "I don't need your false kindness." Matthew stood up with a smile. He pressed his cheek and was about to say something when he noticed William approaching from the corner of his eye. So he turned his head and vented his anger on William. "What are you here for? Why don't you go and catch up with your old flame?" William didn't look happy and didn't say much. He just walked straight towards me and pushed my wheelchair, ready to leave. "It's time to change your dressing. The doctor might not be able to find you later." Matthew stretched out his foot to block the wheelchair. "William, I've been putting up with you for the sake of Mr. Zhang. Are you still going to pick a fight with me?" William shrugged it off and sneered. "I just called your fiancée and told her I saw you in the hospital, looking injured. She should be here any minute now. You'd better think about how to explain this to your fiancée." Just as he finished speaking, a clear voice was heard. "Matthew." Matthew was slightly stunned. Taking advantage of his momentary daze, William pushed me away quickly. I looked back and only caught a quick glimpse of that beautiful and charming face. She is Matthew's fiancée, and she looks almost the same as what I saw on TV. After the doctor changed the dressing, I glanced out of the door. The outside of the ward was full of security personnel. Half of them were William's men, and the other half were Matthew's. Matthew has been taken away by his fiancée. William poured a cup of hot water and handed it to me. "Do you want to know who the person Matthew brought today is?" Hearing this, I looked up at him. Without waiting for my response, William continued, "He should be regarded as my ex-boyfriend and also the first man I ever loved. My family has a long-standing friendship with the Gu family, but Matthew and I have never gotten along since childhood. We've been fond of snatching things from each other since childhood. You snatched mine today, and I snatched yours tomorrow. Neither of us ever got the upper hand over the other. Until Matthew discovered my secret, that I actually liked a man." William said that Matthew didn't like men at that time. He just deliberately got close to the man William liked to disgust him. Later, his lover fell in love with Matthew instead. William went crazy and made a big scene. Somehow, the matter got to William's father. Matthew made him come out of the closet in public. After that, he was sent abroad by his family. On the night of the car accident, I saw that Matthew's butler attached great importance to you. You don't know, that butler has watched Matthew grow up since he was a child. He doesn't care about anything except Matthew's business. Seeing how nervous he was about you, I knew you must mean a great deal to Matthew." As he spoke, William suddenly stopped. I nodded in understanding. "So, did you save me because you intended to use me against Matthew?" I didn't expect William to be so frank. Without hiding his intention at all, he nodded and admitted, "I did think so before." "Before? Then what do you think now?" Instead of answering my question, William smiled and asked me, "Lucas, if I ask you to repay the favor, would you help me deal with him?" He stared at me, not blinking, with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Expecting what? Expecting me to help him deal with Matthew? It's a pity I don't have the ability. "I probably can't help you." As soon as I finished speaking, The light in William's eyes dimmed a bit. I continued, I betrayed him before in order to escape. So now he's very on guard against me. The light in William's eyes was like a fire. Even when it dimmed, it would shine brightly again. It doesn't matter. He smiled and moved closer to me. Sitting on the edge of the bed, looking into my eyes, he said, you can't help me, but I can help you. I can help you escape from Matthew. William said this very seriously, not like he was joking at all. I've been very lucky in my life, yet also extremely unlucky. Fortunately, I've rarely encountered bad people as I've grown up. Instead, there have always been more good people around me. Even my ability to grow up, go to school, and attend university is all thanks to the help of those kind-hearted people. Unfortunately, I met Matthew. I've always been easy to trust others and have little defense against the people around me. For me, it seems that everyone in this world is a good person except Matthew. Moreover, William has really helped me a lot during this time. He also has an old grudge against Matthew. I really believe that he will help me. If it were just me alone, I really don't know how I could escape from Matthew. I've done quite well abroad these years. As long as we go abroad, Matthew won't dare to do anything to you anymore. After your leg injury heals, we'll leave here. William's words were like a powerful injection, easily reigniting my hope for the future. Leave here. Stay away from Matthew. If only it could really come true. One day before I was supposed to be discharged from the hospital, William and I had already left the hospital. According to the plan, Matthew would only find that the person in the hospital bed wasn't me during the doctor's ward round when William and I boarded the plane. Unfortunately, something unexpected happened on our way to the airport. When I woke up again, Matthew had already taken me back to the villa. He held the food and fed me, saying, "Have something to eat. You've lost a lot of weight recently." Seeing Matthew's face, I felt an overwhelming sense of despair. Sure enough, how could I have escaped so easily? Matthew brought the food to my mouth and said, "Lucas, have your meal," he commanded in a cold voice. I suddenly opened my eyes, knocked over the food, and casually splashed the soup all over him. Matthew laughed out of anger and said, "Your temper is getting worse. Who else but me can tolerate you like this?" His extremely handsome face was especially annoying at this moment. I slapped him across the face and said, "Get out." Matthew grabbed the hand with which I had hit him. Just as he was about to say something, I slapped him across the face with my other hand. "I told you to get out." This time, both of my hands were held by him. Matthew said helplessly, "I just want you to have a good meal. Can we talk about other things after you finish eating? You'll be hungry if you don't eat. You're not in good health, and your stomach will hurt later." The butler was already cleaning up the broken pieces on the floor. Matthew glanced at the bed covered with food, then suddenly got up, picked me up, and walked outside. "Tell the maid to come and clean the bed quickly. Lucas will take a nap later. Also, send another meal to the study." This time, Matthew didn't insist on feeding me himself. He put me on the chair and motioned for me to eat by myself. I turned my head away and still refused to eat. The plan failed. I'm so angry that I'm full. How can I still eat? Matthew and I were at a standstill for a moment. He suddenly sneered and approached me again. "It doesn't matter. If you're not hungry, then do something exciting. You can eat after you're hungry." He held my chin with one hand and pressed his lips against mine. I was in a panic and kept struggling. It wasn't until I bit through Matthew's lips and tasted the blood that Matthew let me go. He frowned and licked the wound. The look in his eyes when he looked at me was even more crazy. "Lucas, I'm willing to give you some freedom. You didn't want to see me, so during your time in the hospital, I only went to see you secretly when you were asleep. I indulged you in making friends. Even if that person is my sworn enemy, I still indulged you. If you want to run away and make a scene, I can play with you. If you run away alone, I'm even willing to fulfill you and let you escape to a place you like. You can live there, and I'll visit you occasionally." "But why did you run away with William?" "That's not running away. That's eloping." "Lucas, how long have you known him? Have you known him as long as you've known me? You planned to elope to a foreign country together, thinking I'd never find you again, right?" Matthew's smile was sick and sarcastic. "You're dreaming. You'll be tied to me in this life, the next life, and for all eternity. No one else can even think about having you." I punched him again and again, making his whole face swollen and red. Each punch was delivered with all my might. Kicking Matthew away, He crawled back towards me and said, "I get so excited every time you hit me, you perverted freak." He's a madman. I struck him harder and harder, but Matthew still wouldn't let it go. I crashed into the bookshelf beside me, and a box fell off it. The box wasn't locked, and the things inside scattered all over the floor. There was the ring I had once thrown away, a rusty utility knife, a broken lock that had been pried open, and so on. Seeing those things, Matthew seemed to be under a spell and stood still. Finally, he let go of me and picked up those things one by one and put them back into the box. Seeing that I was about to run, Matthew grabbed my ankle and dragged me back. He held the ring and asked me, "Do you still remember it? You bought it for me with the money you earned from working. Later, you took it back and threw it away like trash. You just decide not to want something and throw it away as you like. It's the same with the ring and with me. I couldn't bear to part with it. I searched for it all night to find it back." After saying that, he picked up the utility knife again and said, "This is the utility knife you used to scratch me before." As he spoke, he pulled open the cuff of his shirt, showing me several old scars. They've all scarred. I thought the unhappy old things between us would also scar like the wounds on my body. But Lucas, you just have to tear open the scabs again and again, laying our past out in front of me all bloody. And this lock is the one you pried open. I did some despicable things to you before, but you also betrayed me once, right? Aren't we even then? Lucas, we're even now. Matthew, like a resentful woman, accused me of past events one by one. I looked at the lock. He used that lock to lock the cabinet before, and then I pried it open. This happened several years ago. At that time, his business rival said he was willing to help me escape, and in exchange, he asked me to steal a document for him. That document caused great losses to the Gu family, and Matthew was almost beaten to death by his father. In Matthew's heart, he had hurt me, and I had betrayed him, so we're even, and I should just stay by his side. But many things in the world can't be evened out just like that. Moreover, I've never thought about evening the score with him. I just want to leave, and I only want to stay away from him. There was a commotion downstairs. I heard William's voice, after a short period of calm. As soon as Matthew heard William's voice, he started going crazy again. "You've only known each other for how long, and he already likes you." Matthew pinned me down on the carpet. "Lucas, sometimes I really want to disfigure your face, so that people who see you will be afraid of you. Then they won't compete with me for you. Then you'll belong to me." Hearing the approaching footsteps outside and the housekeeper trying to stop William, Matthew got even more excited. "Baby, be good and don't let him hear you. If he sees you like this, do you think William will still like you?" He threatened me, using my self-esteem to threaten me. I slapped him in the face and suddenly shouted outside, "William, There was a moment of surprise on Matthew's face, and then he rushed up to cover my mouth. But it was already too late. The door of the study was still kicked open by William from the outside. Compared with my mess, Matthew was well dressed, except for the bruise on his face from my slap. But when the door was kicked open from the outside, he seemed even more flustered than me. He reacted quickly. Before I could see who was outside, Matthew had already grabbed the blanket and covered me with it. At this moment, I couldn't see his expression. I only heard his hoarse voice, almost roaring at the person at the door. "Get out!" The study was in a complete mess. My clothes and pants were still scattered on the floor. Suddenly, it got quiet at the noisy door. William rushed in, grabbed Matthew by the collar and called him a brute. "Are you still a human being? You're engaged. Why won't you let him go? What do you take Lucas for?" The two of them got into a fight. Matthew was not the type to take a beating lying down. When William punched him, he kicked back. He vented all the anger from my slap on William. "It's none of your business what happens between me and Lucas." He straddled William and grabbed his neck, saying, "You want to take him abroad. Do you think I'll be helpless once you're overseas? William, you stupid fool. Are you still so naive?" The two of them were at daggers drawn. They fought hand to hand, each wishing the other dead. I curled up in the blanket and suddenly felt so tired. The butler called the security guards up. After separating the two, they threw William out. Dinner was still sent to the bedroom. This time I didn't refuse. I quietly finished all the food. I hadn't eaten all day today. I was really hungry at this moment. Well, people always need to be full to have the strength to do other things. Otherwise, even hitting someone would feel like tickling. My leg started to hurt again in the middle of the night. Maybe it was going to rain again. I was almost able to escape when I stole the documents that time. It's a pity that when I was halfway through and about to leave Beijing, I was still caught up by Matthew's men and taken back. Matthew was really angry that time. I don't know if he was angry at my betrayal or my escape. He broke my right leg with his own hands. I'll break your leg. Let's see how you can run away in the future. He was moody. He was the one who broke my leg, and also the one who invited experts from abroad to cure me. Suddenly, an arm was draped over my waist, and Matthew's steady breathing suddenly sounded in my ear. I carefully shook off his hand and sat up. At dinner, I secretly hid a fork under the bed. The butler didn't seem to notice when clearing the dishes. I lay on the ground, found the fork, and held it in my hand. Then I walked around to Matthew's side. When I stabbed at him, I hardly hesitated at all, but I still failed. Matthew suddenly opened his eyes and reached out to block it. The fork only stabbed into his palm. Blood dripped on Matthew's face. He stared at me with a hurt look on his face. You want me to die? Matthew's voice trembled, and there were tears in his eyes. He looked so dejected, just like the innocent and wronged young woman in the TV shows. But he is not an innocent young woman. He is an extremely wicked and good at disguising evil spirit. His appearance doesn't make me feel pity. It just makes me feel more disgusted. I closed my eyes disappointedly for a moment. I pulled out the fork and prepared to go back to sleep. Matthew suddenly grabbed my wrist like a mad dog. You hate me so much? I was a bit annoyed and didn't even bother to look back at him. You already knew that I hate you, didn't you? Matthew held me even tighter. When struggling, I lost my balance and fell. Due to inertia, the fork stabbed towards myself. Matthew hurriedly lunged forward and reached out to intercept the pitchfork. His hand, which already had several holes pierced in it, now had a few more cuts. You can't kill me, so you want to ruin yourself, right? Matthew snatched the fork from my hand, looking utterly shaken. Crazy. It was just an accident just now. I never thought of punishing myself just because he's a madman. But at this moment, I suddenly realized that if I admitted what he said, Matthew would be even more sad. I wiped the blood off my face and nodded with a smile. Yes, it's better for me to die than to stay by your side. Matthew was like a dog whose tail had been stepped on. He went crazy with laughter and grabbed my neck, saying, Do I really disgust you so much? This afternoon too. You'd rather let them see you in a sorry state than not call William in. You hate me and like him, right? I slapped him across the face. Still not satisfied, I slapped him on the other side of the face. Stop going crazy everywhere. Are you super aggressive? Matthew let go of my neck after getting slapped. He wanted to say something, but I didn't give him a chance to speak. I kicked him in the chest and sent him flying. This is your home. If it weren't your intention, how could the butler have let William come up? Matthew, don't you just want others to see me being humiliated by you? I fulfilled your wish. What are you still pretending for? Matthew looked at me, his lips trembling. No, I just wanted to scare you. I didn't mean it like that. I don't care and don't want to care what he thinks. But the result is just like this. I'm already tired and don't want to waste any more words with him. I've been sleepy every day these days and don't want to eat. What Matthew force-fed me was less than what I vomited out. Matthew was extremely scared. He invited a doctor to the house. The doctor tried to communicate with me, but I was too sleepy. I just wanted to sleep. When the doctor left, I heard Matthew whispering to the doctor outside the door. He stabbed himself with a fork a few days ago. I was under the quilt, drowsy, and cursed him in my heart. One day, when I was a bit more awake after getting an injection, Matthew said he was willing to let me go out and play. I don't know what the doctor said to him that made him change so suddenly. You can go anywhere and see anyone you want. Lucas, I've broken off the engagement. Matthew looked at me carefully, afraid of missing the slightest subtle expression on my face. But I still looked listless and showed no interest in his words. It was true that Matthew said he was willing to let me go out. From then on, I went out at 10 o'clock every morning, had lunch outside, and came home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I had to have dinner with him. Matthew would ask me where I had gone and what I had done that day. I kept silent, ignored him, and just buried my head in eating. He wouldn't lose his temper like before, but I could tell that he was still angry. He just didn't show it in front of me. After buying coffee and sitting in the mall to rest, a good-looking girl suddenly sat down in front of me. She looked very familiar. I quickly remembered that she was Matthew's fiancée. I've always been curious as to why Matthew risked offending my family to break off the engagement. Now that I've seen you, I suddenly understand him. Lucas, you're really good looking. You're even more handsome than in the photos. First, I thought she came to cause trouble for me. Unexpectedly, her words left me dazed and at a loss. Hello, my name is Charlotte. I was Matthew's fiancée before. I nodded and said, you? Hello. After saying that, I looked back at the people behind me. There was no suspicious person behind me, but I know Matthew sends people to follow me every day. I'm all too familiar with the feeling of being watched as soon as I go out. Charlotte also looked in the direction I was looking. Don't worry, they're far away and won't hear what we're saying. Suddenly, she leaned forward and got closer to me. Lucas, I heard from William that you don't like Matthew. Were you forced and imprisoned by him? I looked at Charlotte's inquisitive eyes and didn't say a word. Charlotte continued, let me help you escape. She looked very serious. Charlotte is a very beautiful girl with a cute way of speaking. I could tell she meant me no harm, but I didn't understand why she wanted to help me. Actually, I don't like Matthew that much. I only agreed to get engaged to him because he's good looking. Charlotte giggled. In families like ours, we have to have marriage alliances. Of course, I have to choose someone good looking, but you're even better looking than him. So I want to help you. After saying that, Charlotte picked up the coffee in front of me and stood up. Since I'm going to help you, I'll make a detailed escape plan for you when I get back. Lucas, don't worry. With that face of yours, I won't do you any harm. Suddenly, she splashed the coffee in her hand at me and said fiercely, let's make this act convincing. Those people over there are still watching. I stood there, stunned. After sitting alone in the mall for a long time, I got up and left. On my way back, I met William near Matthew's villa. He was waiting for me here on purpose. Seeing the coffee stain on my clothes, William asked me, did Charlotte come to see you? I nodded. Matthew broke off the engagement with her because of you, so she was angry and treated you like this. But she's not a bad person. Don't take it to heart. Yeah. Thinking of Charlotte, I smiled and said, I know. William added, I've made a plan. Next Friday, after you go out, I'll take you away. This time, I won't let you down again. After saying that, he left. During dinner, Matthew asked me, did you have a good time today? I still ate on my own and didn't pay any attention to him. Did Charlotte look for you? He put down his chopsticks and said, Lucas, I've broken off the engagement with her. If she gives you trouble, I'll avenge you. I gave him a fleeting glance. Suddenly, I lost my appetite. Did you send someone to follow me? Matthew explained nervously, it's not surveillance. I just want to protect you. I won't interfere with where you go or who you meet. He pulled at the corners of his mouth, forcing a smile. When you came back, you talked to William. Didn't I say nothing? Then what do you want to say? The smile on Matthew's face could no longer be maintained. Lucas, I ignored him and got up to go upstairs. It was very late when Matthew returned to the room. He hugged me, and I smelled the faint tobacco smell on him. I don't smoke and I hate the smell of cigarettes. Even if Matthew smoked before, he would wait until the smell of cigarettes on him dissipated before returning to the room. Maybe he was really angry with me tonight, so he stayed outside for a long time. You could still smell the smell on him now. Lucas, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have shouted at you just now. He buried his head in the crook of my neck. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I saw Charlotte again a few days later. I was pulled into a cubicle by her in the men's restroom. She showed me her plan. Tomorrow is Friday. Matthew has a very important business event. Remember to follow my plan. Yes. I nodded, looking at her gratefully. Tomorrow is Friday, and it so happens that William's plan is also for tomorrow. After Charlotte finished instructing me, she prepared to leave. I grabbed her and said, after I leave, will you still marry Matthew? Charlotte looked at me doubtfully and said, what? Do you like him and don't want me to marry him? I quickly explained, no, I think you're a very good person, and I don't want you to be held back by that bastard Matthew. Charlotte smiled and patted me. Don't worry, after meeting you, I'm convinced that I can find a more handsome marriage partner than Matthew in the future. After saying that, she turned around again. After taking just 2 steps, Charlotte looked back at me again and said, by the way, don't trust William too much. It's better not to tell him about our plan either. There aren't many good people in this circle. Besides, he has a grudge against Matthew. Who knows when he might stab you in the back. Pow! pouting her lips, as if in thought. She said, "You shouldn't trust me too much either. I don't seem to be a good person either." I smiled, watching her leave. When it was time, I went back as usual. After dinner and a shower, I got into the quilt. Matthew hugged me from behind and said, "Lucas, could you smile at me? Just like you did in college. Love me like you did back then. As soon as you saw me, the smile would overflow from your eyes. You loved me so much back then. I know it all. You never used the card I gave you. You didn't have much money, yet you still scrimped and saved to buy me a birthday present. Please love me again, okay? This time, I definitely won't let you down. Actually, I was so happy when I heard you lost your memory. I thought you really forgot our sordid past. I thought we could start over, but it turned out you were just lying to me. Lucas, let's start over now, okay? I'll never get married in my life, and you're not allowed to either. Let's be together forever, okay?" Matthew rambled on and on. I fell asleep at night and was woken up by him again. He hadn't touched me for a long time. These days, I often heard him get up to take a cold shower in the middle of the night. I opened my eyes groggily and then closed them again. I buried my head in the quilt and fell asleep again. Matthew still carried a chill on him when he came back. He pulled me into his arms and sighed in my ear. "Lucas, I love you so much now. Have mercy on me and stay by my side, okay?" The room was silent. Only the ticking of the wall clock could be heard. Matthew didn't get the response he wanted. When I woke up, Matthew had already left home. The butler looked at me, hesitant to speak. In the end, he still said nothing. Just like usual, he smiled and saw me off, saying, "Please watch out for cars on the road. The young master said it's his birthday today and asked you to come back early. He'll cook for you himself tonight." I nodded and then went out. According to Charlotte's plan, car would come to pick me up after I went out. After turning the corner, suddenly a car rushed out from somewhere. The people in the car directly dragged me into it. "The young lady asked us to take you away." Hearing this, I stopped struggling. All the way, it was so noisy and high profile. It didn't seem like an escape at all, but it really suited Miss Cheen's style. I couldn't help laughing. When we arrived at the destination, the driver pointed to the car in front and said, "The young lady said you can drive. From now on, you drive by yourself. If we take you there, it might expose you." As soon as I got out of the car, William suddenly appeared. I frowned and stood still, not understanding why he suddenly appeared here. Looking around, it seemed that he came alone. I looked at him warily. William smiled and walked towards me, saying, "You didn't follow my plan. Is it because you don't trust me?" "No." I pondered for a moment and explained, "If I escaped, Matthew would suspect you first. He would definitely investigate from you. This is too risky for both you and me." William nodded with a smile and said, "You're right. Leaving without going through me is the safest option for you." He didn't blame me for not appreciating his kindness, nor did he blame me for being on guard when I saw him just now. William is also a very nice person. He only said, "Lucas, it would be great if we had met before you and Matthew, but the word if itself is a false proposition. There is never an if in life. Where do you plan to go? Can you tell me? When things calm down here, I want to come and find you." William looked at me with hope in his eyes, but all he got in response was my silence. It wasn't because of what Charlotte said. Don't trust William too much. It's because I probably already know how William feels about me. I know I can't give him what he wants, and I also know what I'll face in the future. William is a very nice person. He shouldn't be let down by me again. I understand. A smile spread across his face. He handed me the travel bag he was carrying and said, "You may find the things inside useful in the future. Take it with you. Lucas, if I can see you again after today, I hope you won't reject me then. If we meet again, it'll be fate." William opened the car door and pushed me in. "Hurry up and go. I could chase you here, and so can Matthew. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late." After saying that, he waved at me and said, "Have a safe journey." I nodded. I followed the route arranged by Charlotte and kept going forward, until Matthew forced me to stop by self-destructing his vehicle. He also came alone. Matthew was badly injured. He crawled out of the car and lay in the middle of the road, looking at me and shouting, "Lucas, if you want to run away, just drive over me and kill me." I tightened my grip on the steering wheel and couldn't help swearing. Then I pushed open the car door. Seeing me walking towards him, Matthew laughed and cried, saying, "Lucas, save me. I'm in so much pain. I'm about to die." "Will you take me to the hospital?" Without saying a word, I picked him up and dragged him to the roadside. Before Matthew could react, I got in the car and stepped on the accelerator. In the rear view mirror, Matthew could hardly stand up. He could only shout at me desperately and finally fainted. In the second month in a foreign country, I received an anonymous email from my home country. This was how I kept in touch with Charlotte. The emails were completely anonymous and there was no way to trace them. In the email, Charlotte said, "After Matthew was rescued, I asked the doctor to add something to his medicine. By the time he woke up, you would have already left safely. After you left, William was thoroughly investigated by him, but in the end, nothing was found. His right leg was fractured, could have been treated, but he himself was unwilling to receive treatment. Now his right leg is useless. Seeing him walking with a cane, I instantly thought he wasn't that handsome anymore. He's far inferior to you. By the way, before William went abroad, he inexplicably came to thank me. Could he already know that it was me who helped you escape? But it doesn't matter if he knows. My dad is really powerful. No one dares to do anything to me. After going abroad, I've changed from one place to another. I've also changed my identities several times. Now, as long as I don't expose myself voluntarily, even Charlotte can't find me." I sent Charlotte an emoji of a big smile in reply. Then I deleted the email. Stepping out of the hut, I took a deep breath looking at the boundless snowfield outside. The cold air was so biting that it made me cough for a long time. The Siberian husky that was sleeping beside me immediately ran back when it heard the sound and jumped into my arms. It wagged its tail and played with me. After getting tired from playing, we lay in the snow together. It started to snow lightly again in the sky. Snowflakes fell all over me. I smiled and exhaled, saying, "It's so nice." The puppy didn't understand what I said. It just stuck out its tongue, looked at me, and kept wagging its tail. I hugged it and murmured again, "It's so nice. Freedom, it's really wonderful."